Okay, I'd like to call to order the November 6th meeting of the Casa Grande Planning and Zoning Commission. If you would, please rise and join me for the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Eric, you want to let the record show we're all here? And are there any changes to the agenda?
No, Mr. Chairman, no changes to the agenda.
Thank you. Commissioners, we have 3 sets of minutes.
Chair, I'd like to make a motion.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of October 2nd regular meeting.
All right.
Second that.
Got a couple of seconds over here. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? And we have another one.
Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of an October 2nd, 2025 special meeting.
Thank you.
Seconds.
Oh, second over here. And any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Okay, one more.
Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of the October 16th, 2025 special meeting.
You go, buddy.
Second.
Awesome. All right, we've got a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hear none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we have no consent agenda items. So we are to the public comment section. If anybody from the public would like to to talk to the commission about anything not on our agenda, please feel free to come forward. We can't respond with comments, but we can direct staff to follow up as appropriate. If you could please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Anyone like to address the commission? Okay, seeing none, I'll close the public comments session. And we're on to new business. So first, we'll hold a public hearing and consider a request by Dutch Brothers Coffee for a conditional use permit for convenience food restaurant and drive-through facility, DSA 2500081. And just for the public's information, the process we normally use in these hearings is we'll hear the staff's report, we'll ask them questions, then we'll ask the applicant or their representative to come forward. We'll spend some time talking with them, then we'll open the public portion of the meeting. We'd very much like to hear what you think about these particular issues, about that particular issue that we're on. And again, we'll please keep your comments to 3 minutes and try not to repeat things that other folks have said ahead of you. That being done, DSA 2500081, Danielle.
Thank you. This presentation is for the planning project DSA 2500081. The applicant has applied to the City of Casa Grande for a conditional use permit. My name is Daniela Warren. We are here to hold a public hearing and consider a request by Dutch Bros Coffee for a conditional use permit for a convenience food restaurant with a drive-through facility. The location for this proposal is off of North Pinal Avenue, south of Cottonwood Lane, and north of Choya Street. This area is zoned B2 General Business. The preliminary site plan proposes double drive-through lanes to accommodate at least 25 vehicles. Per city code, here's the criteria which Planning and Zoning Commission shall apply to evaluate a conditional use permit. The staff report has found that the criteria has been met. We will address the potential traffic impact associated with this conditional use permit. A TIA has been completed. It has been reviewed by the city's traffic engineer and ADOT. Here are a few points. Trip generation calculations anticipate 358 daily trips, and this is based on 2 drive-through lanes. The proposed site layout incorporates a 3/4 right-in, right-out driveway on Pennell Avenue aligned with Saguaro Street to manage access. Secondary access is planned, and there will be no access through the alley to Choya Street. Per city code, queuing space requirements requires 9 vehicles stored per lane. The proposed plan meets this requirement and exceeds it with queuing that allows for up to 28 vehicles. The city has provided public notice of the hearing through newspaper advertisement, mailings, and a posted sign. Members of the public have had an opportunity to express their opinions. City staff did not receive questions or comments. Staff finds that the proposed conditional use permit for a convenience food restaurant is appropriate. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission approve this request for a conditional use permit with the listed conditions 1 through 4. My apologies. The conditional use permit and the associated resolution for DSA 2500081. And finally, would anybody like to ask any questions?
I don't know if this question would be for staff or for the applicant, but I had asked a question in an email on Monday. I hadn't gotten a response regarding the applicant's access and whether they actually have an access easement with the property to the north based off your title report.
You know, from what Dutch Brothers has communicated most recently, they do not have an access agreement or easement to the north, that they are separate.
And that's probably where I'll wait for the applicant to get ahead of us.
Chairman, I have a question.
Yes, please.
So the, is there a reason that the site plan is not approved before it got to us here on the agenda?
There were still a few outstanding comments, and starting today, they will be done administratively.
Okay. Okay, so but I still would like to see an approved site plan before I'd approve a conditional use permit in the future.
Just as a reminder, they won't be able to approve the major site plan until they have the CUP, because they won't be able to, because the major site plan won't be in compliance with the zoning before the CUP is approved.
Is approved,
Right.
okay. Well, then I need to see a site plan as complete as it could possibly be attached to the staff report.
And that was what was provided. The only update was the double queuing on the south end.
There isn't a site plan
In the-
attached to the agenda. Other than in the staff report, there's not the physical site plan documents.
Okay, she can pull it up too.
Well, and I'm just saying for staff to know that that's the way I'd like to see things moving forward.
Okay.
And what's in the staff report looks different from what I see on the screen too.
So we have that one. Yeah.
So, one more question. There's an access to the alleyway shown on this picture here, but they don't have access to the alley? There shouldn't be cars traveling from the alley.
No, they do have access to the alley because that is city right away or alleyway. They don't have access to the property along Pinal to Jack in the Box. There's another parcel there.
So they're going to build the half street along the backside too?
Yes.
To get access to the property?
Yes.
Okay, so people could come in from Pinal and then come in from Cottonwood?
Potentially, yes.
Okay, potentially?
Well,
or
yes.
Okay.
I mean, depending there how they want to drive.
Yeah, that's what I needed to know. That wasn't real clear, I guess.
So let me,
So it goes to-
this is probably you, I'm probably asking you to repeat, but they are providing the half-street improvement all the way up to the north in that alleyway?
To Cottonwood.
Yes, to Jack in the Box.
So show the aerial again.
So will it go in between Jack in the Box and this other subdivision right here? Or not subdivision, but parking lot?
No, it'll go right.
So they're going to take their parking spaces here?
Do you have an aerial with parcel lines on
No, they
it?
come right along the back here.
No.
No?
I could, no.
Here we go.
There.
Chairman, I
So-
think what you were asking is, are they going to build the connection all the way to Cottonwood?
Yeah, so it's done, the way I've seen it here,
It's up
it's
to there, up
done.
to there.
It's done to Jack in the Box.
Jack in the Box has done their part,
Yes.
and then these guys are gonna do all the way from their
Yes. You're
edge, all the way but past this lot that's still vacant.
correct.
Okay.
Oh, it looks like, okay, so that's not parking lot of Jack in the Box?
No,
It's not. Okay.
Okay,
So that'll be shown on the major site plan, right? Those little bit of off-site improvements are going to be shown on the site plan somewhere.
no, that would be part of the public improvement, site development, engineering,
Okay.
because they're off-site.
So is this going, so will this make this access harder to go into Jack in the Box drive-through now? Because
No,
it will not. Why wouldn't it?
because this is the alleyway right here.
Yeah, I think it's next to it.
No,
Here's
it's
the
not
drive-through.
an alleyway.
that's already made, that's already done.
Right.
I think it's a public road.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay.
Like, I don't think it's part of their parking lot.
I thought it was part of their parking lot.
It's not. Well, it doesn't have to take any of their parking spaces. As they drive through it, it doesn't look to me like it's gonna be an issue. Okay? Others, questions for staff?
The way I'm reading the resolution is the abutting alley along the developing area of the lot is to be improved by the developer with a high standard. So is it just their parcel? That's how I'm reading it on
That's
here.
what, yeah. What you just wrote.
You know, it will be adjacent to their parcel, but it will go northward, and this provides secondary access for fire.
Just pave that one bond spot.
It can be revised to make that more clear.
I'd be more comfortable with that just because the way I'm reading it still is just the parcel itself and not the parcel to the north.
Yeah, the abutting alley.
Yeah.
And adjacent, yeah, we can,
Approved by the developer with a high standard. Yeah, it's not. Good catch.
Good catch.
I have a-
Yep,
Actually,
go.
I do have a question for Clark. So in their TIA, they show D2, which is that access onto the alley from Cottonwood, as taking left turns for this. Currently, we've extended that median, so you cannot take a left turn into this anymore, correct?
That, I have not seen that extension.
Okay, well, how would that, I think you can kind of see it there. How would that affect the analysis that they did on how that intersection, Cottonwood and Pinal, is functioning currently, where in their TIA, they say the left turn movement's going to fail in 2029, and now
Yeah.
you're moving all of those left turns from that TIA analysis they did from that turn into that alleyway to the left turn at Cottonwood and Pinal. And so that is not fixed in their TIA, so I don't know what that kind of, how does that affect what they've analyzed now that they know that that is blocked and they can't get access there unless they go and make improvements? And I don't know if the city will allow that.
we will have to have them adjust the analysis.
Okay,
They can look at it.
okay, thank you. Oh, I mean, there's some other things in here.
It doesn't feel ready to me, so,
Yeah.
but let's hear from the applicant.
Well, so what have we, so we need the verbiage changed from abutting for that alley. We need the abutting out of it and describe that it's going all the way north. That needs to be changed. And then your point about,
Well, I mean, they just need to update their TIA. They need to do a second submittal.
Right.
So they're gonna have to revise it. I don't feel comfortable right now with what's in front of me, but we haven't heard from the applicant. I would like to hear from the applicant.
well,
So-
I'm just being sure that I've got straight, okay, we got two things that are, that are not done, I guess. Okay. Yeah, a little bit hard to approve it like that. Okay, any other questions for staff? All right, seeing none, will the applicant or their representative come forward and speak to us? And I don't see
Hello.
anybody moving.
Hi.
There you are. Okay, good.
Hi, here on the virtual. Hi, my name is Michael Beck. I'm with Core Estates Group. I'm a planner, project planner on this site. We're the planners and engineers of record for the project. I'm joined by a colleague of mine, Paul, who drafted the TIA for the site.
Okay.
Okay.
Do we need their address for both of you? If you don't mind.
Of course, not a problem. Address is 18215 72nd Avenue South, Kent, Washington.
Okay. All right, for both. Yes.
And Lee Engineering, it is 2944 North 44th Street, Suite 250, Phoenix, Arizona, 85018.
Great, thank you. Okay, would you like to address us about this issue?
Of course, yes. And so staff is sharing my traffic management plan and site summary, so I'll just go over this briefly, and then we're happy to answer any questions. So like I said, my name is Michael Beck. I'm a project planner with Core Estates Group, the planners and engineers of record on the site. We're proposing a Dutch Bros coffee here in Casa Grande, and we can change slides.
Oops.
Okay. Yeah, and just a brief overview of Dutch Bros. Dutch Bros was founded in 1992 by the Busmura brothers in Grande Pass, Washington. And from there, grew exponentially and due to its good service and high quality beverages. Next slide, please. Just a brief overview of how the traffic management plan was created. So our specific site and traffic plan administrator created the traffic management plan specifically for this site, and it's based on the path of travel and points of ingress and egress, crew parking, directional sign placement, and staff placement as well. The city ordinances, CC&Rs, easements, and agreements were all taken into consideration upon this the drafting of this traffic management plan. The traffic management plan is then sent to the field leadership team where it's reviewed for process. And from there, specific A-frame signs and cone toppers are drafted and then sent to field leadership for implementation. Next slide, please. And here is an overview of our traffic management positions. To be specific, the line busters. Dutch Bros staff does not have a speaker box or a ordering system. Instead, line busters are equipped with iPads and card readers where they can walk between customer cars and take orders from the vehicles themselves. Also, drink runners are available to run between the cars as well and distribute drinks. And there's also traffic controllers with Dutch Bros staff specifically, and also third-party traffic controllers as well, controlling traffic on site. And here's an overview of the third-party traffic controllers. They are typically off-duty police officers, and if not, they are a third-party broker with national security companies. And an overview of the site itself. The lot size is approximately 48,000 square feet. Queuing on premises is approximately 18, with 28 potentially in the overflow area. Parking stalls include 12 exclusive spaces with one ADA parking stall. And here's examples of all the A-frame directional signs used for wayfinding for customers. And additional depictions here as well. And here's the sign placements as according to our site plan. The map is a little small in this image, but here you can see the M4 and L6 signs just depicted, and the L8 signs to show staff or show customers where to line up. And here's a depiction of staffing placement, including line busters and drink runners located all throughout the site, directing traffic as they go. Okay, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Commissioners? Have questions?
Right, so
Thank you.
you had mentioned that during your, I think it was on the second slide, the traffic management plan that you come up with and how you go about looking at everything. And you mentioned that you look at easements. And so my question is, when I look at this title report and I look at the schedule or Exhibit A, which is your legal description for this parcel, you have parcel 1, which gives a tract A of Casa Grande Vista according to the plat record, book 16 maps, page 9. And then it says, except the east 20 feet for the alley purposes, so that's your alley, except for the north 300, so that's the vacant lot and the Jack in the Box, and except the south 212, which is the clean freak. So your parcel is everything else. And then parcel 2, reciprocal easement and restrictive covenant agreement creating a cross-access easement for ingress and egress recorded in document number 2000-04-8085 and thereafter amended in First Amendment to reciprocal easement and restrictive covenant agreement recorded in document number 2007-02-0680. And so when you look at that first one, which kind of lays out what exactly you have in terms of that access easement, it says driveways and drive aisles and connections to Cottonwood and to Pinal. And so they went and amended that. And so when they amended that in 2007, they took out the restrictive covenants of that first one. So those restrictive covenants were to what land uses you could have done on this property. But the second part of that amendment was changing the site plan. And so that original site plan, like what you see in front of us on your screen, you see those dashed lines on the property to the north. And so there's the one on the east side. You no longer have that one because they amended the site plan to remove that. But you still have that L-shaped access easement because when I look at the site plan that they changed it to, it very clearly shows a design just like that, and then an arrow that says access from your parcel. And so that's where I don't know how you came to the conclusion you don't have a cross-access easement. And the thing with you having a cross-access easement, one, on that parcel, the Jack in the Box's current access is on that same parcel, so you could consolidate those access into 1/3-quarter access to serve all three and make this a much safer site to access for everybody in the area. But you're choosing not to do that. And so that's my problem with that, based off of my reading of what your legal rights are as an app or as a property owner, especially with that access easement. And so that's where I'm a bit concerned with your layout and how that's going to affect, one, not just whenever somebody comes in to develop that parcel to the north, which it'll likely be some type of drive-through restaurant. Are they going to be asking access? So now we have 3 access points between Pinal and Cholla. That seems like way too many, and it is way too many, and they're not spaced well. At least with that shared access easement, you can create distance from the intersection, and then you can also create distance from Clean Freak. And then that also frees up the west side of your property to work for traffic access or for queuing. And so, and the reason I think you need more queuing is, I mean, just a week ago, you guys on 10/29, you did a mystery pin drop. And, you know, I saw on a post on one of the Facebook pages here in Casa Grande, the community, and somebody asked, what's going on at the Dutch Bros? The line is all the way to the U-Haul. And so I measured that, and the line all the way to the U-Haul is 1,800 feet. And so can you accommodate 1,800 feet of queues on your promotion days with your site plan? I'm going to say, no, you can't. And so that's where I think you need to make some adjustments to the site plan. You need to work with us, and you need to create a safer access. And, you know, I'm somebody who I think is very open to development. I'm probably the most pro-growth, pro-development person up on this commission. You can look at my voting record for that. I have issues with this because of the safety problem that it will create. If you were backing cars up onto Pinal Avenue, that is a problem, because just like we were talking a meeting ago, Pinal Avenue has quite a lot of truck traffic on it. A lot of truck traffic going to our industrial area travels down Pinal Avenue. And so if one of those trucks is leaving the city of Casa Grande and then comes upon a dead lane because it's blocked with cars trying to get into a Dutch Bros, that's a problem. And so, and where that also happens, if you count the 1,800 feet from your site access, you end up reaching the McMurray intersection. And so, one, you start blocking a pedestrian crosswalk in front of a school if your queues start blocking onto Pinal. And then that could create dangerous situations for pedestrians trying to cross from that school. And so there's a lot of concern from myself just on the safety aspect of allowing a Dutch Bros to put a site here that's not properly planned to accommodate the queues that we all know are going to happen. And it's not every day. I know it's not every day. I know it's when you guys have your promotions. And it's kind of funny when you look at the TIA that you did it on March 4th and March 5th. And so I went back and I looked at what you guys were doing on March 4th and March 5th. And on March 4th, you didn't have anything, but you were promoting on March 5th, one of your sticker days. And so the traffic numbers for your peak hours are 20, you have 20 more cars in your peak hours on your sticker day than the day before. And so that's where you can just see in your promotions, and it's only one data point, so it's kind of hard to say, but you can just see the traffic that you generate from your promotions. And so that's where a lot of my concern is coming. I don't want to see cars backed up onto Pinal. I don't want to see Pinal coming to a dead stop because Dutch Bros is here. And I think that you can develop here if you make those modifications to your site plan, if you make better access, and if you make sure that when it does start backing up, you push them over to that Pinal alleyway. But I'm not seeing that you're making those commitments to do that, and that's where I'm not sure that this is going to work.
Yeah, thank you for your comment, and I appreciate all your concerns. I would like to address specifically some of the operational features this site has differently than the other Dutch Bros site you've cited on Florence. So the other site is a older prototype. Dutch Bros acknowledges that some of those strategies have not been great for traffic, but this site implements newer strategies such as providing an escape lane, which is you could see on the north portion of it. This allows vehicles in the driving queue to escape early. If there's an emergency, staff can direct vehicles out and then make way for any vehicles to exit efficiently. This also allows customers who get their drinks earlier to escape, thus lowering the queue line. Additionally, with the dual drive-through lanes, staff is able to run up and down and accommodate and serve customers in that drive-through lane. As far as the building itself, this prototype is different from the former or the other Dutch Bros coffee building in that there's more espresso machines due to its size, and also the layout is set in a way where staff may exit and enter more efficiently, thus creating more efficient time. From this new implementation, Dutch Bros has increased its efficiency from 45 seconds to 1 minute to 30 seconds for each service from order to getting their beverage. Also, this site also has additional overflow lanes on the southern portion of the property, as seen on the in the green here, which accommodates about 10 more vehicles to be stacked. There's also a striping at the end of the protected lanes, stating no blocking here. So access is still granted from the alleyway. As far as the easements to the north, that is on an adjacent property that Dutch Bros does not own. And the access is specifically for I believe for the retention pond associated with the Jack in the Box property. And I have my colleague who drafted the TIA, and feel free to speak up if you have any comments here.
Hello, my name is Paul Guzek with Lee Engineering. The only thing I would like to state is we did collect the count data from the Florence Boulevard sites on that Tuesday and Wednesday, where it was the higher volume that you were pointing out on Wednesday. That information was incorporated into the TIA that was prepared for this site. So with that information, then also considering only a 10% improvement because of the dual lanes, the ability to exit early, and the additional queue, we identified that the site would be able to accommodate the 95th percentile queue on that larger day would only be about 12 vehicles. So there are additional storage area for a lot higher demand for the drive-through. Of course, it's not going to be able to accommodate 1,800 vehicles. There's always that one vehicle that will, not make the site operate well.
Okay.
Okay, well, I was just going to say, I don't think the easement thing I don't think you're reading that right. So it's very clear you have an access easement for ingress and egress. I don't know how much clearer it can get in this title report. And so that's where I just don't understand how you're coming to the conclusion you don't have an access easement for ingress and egress.
Okay.
I believe there's a plat was established for the Jack in the Box in 2017 that depicts that use for that specific access.
Okay. That doesn't mean anything.
Chris?
So if there is additional cars that, when you're going north on Pinal to get in, how many cars can go on the side right here?
In the turn lane?
Mm-hmm.
The right-hand turn lane?
Mm-hmm. Right, yeah, to go in.
How long is that turn lane?
Yeah, how long is it?
60 feet.
It's 60 feet?
They're supposed to do 100
I
feet.
think it's 100.
No, they were supposed to do 100.
Clark?
It's shorter than normal.
It's shorter than the minimum requirement of the city of Casa Grande?
It is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Driveway.
Yeah.
All around. It just needs a lot of work, man. Like, somebody needs to look into this cross-access. We don't need another Florence Boulevard. Like, that would solve that problem.
100%.
Putting that access somewhere on the property line, or maybe using one location for those two lots when they develop. That's the
One
big
access.
thinking, right? Yes.
One access to those two.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little surprised that, because what we created with this is now we're gonna have 3 access points within,
600.
The lot above will just share that access with Jack in the Box per the Jack in the Box plat that was done in
Still 3
2017.
though. You have Clean Freak, Dutch Bros, and then the Jack in the Box. So it's 3.
Clark, what's the distance between Clean Freak's driveway and this proposed driveway?
It's not very much.
It's
I
like
knew that number several months ago. I don't have that.
It's probably only about 100 feet.
100 feet,
Can't
maybe.
be that much.
What are the dimensions on there? It says that's 71 feet, so it's roughly 110 feet.
Wow.
Yeah, this is too close.
That's not very much. That's what I was wondering.
okay. Okay, any other,
I just want to ask,
Yes. Yep,
Mike,
go ahead.
Paul, I just want to ask you one quick question. So you're under this understanding that that alleyway, because I don't think it's a road, it's an alley, is you guys are required to improve that alley across your lot and the lot to the north to get up to Cottonwood?
I believe we are responsible for that. I believe it's its own alleyway, not part of the northern lot. I think it's exclusive of that northern one. But the alleyway will be improved with this proposal.
The alleyway across your lot and the lot to the north?
abutting their lot and the
Abutting, yes,
lot
correct.
to the north.
And the lot to the north.
Yeah, and it'll terminate at our property line on the southern portion.
That is not
So
the lot to the
it won't connect to the Clean Freak car wash.
No, he's saying this.
I think the image on the screen is correct as shown.
Okay. But you guys are assuming that's an access point that folks are going to come into Dutch Brothers from?
Cottonwood.
From Cottonwood?
Correct, yes.
From Cottonwood,
But you
yeah.
can't come from Cottonwood because it's a one-way.
Make a left. You're Jack.
Oh, hello.
No, you make,
Even with the
you make
island,
right
make it
into
right
that.
in.
Yeah, you have to go right in.
Yeah. Yeah, because just put in that, improved that turn lane there on Cottonwood that I think it blocks that for a left-hand turn now, correct?
It appears it does.
It's wide enough.
Okay.
So Paul, the TIA, you assumed a left turn movement at Cottonwood?
Yes. When I was doing the traffic study, I don't believe that median turn lane was completed at that time. So we assumed that we could make a left in and a left out at the Jack in the Box driveway on Cottonwood.
Okay.
I reached out to staff while we're talking here and was informed it was part of the city's rapid response fund. So there were no plans that staff reviewed. It was done as a field exercise in locating that island.
I'm not saying it's not necessary. I just think they need to revise the TIA to be accurate, right?
Yeah.
Okay, any other
I don't have any questions.
questions, comments? Okay, thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate that. And now we'll open the public portion of the meeting. And anybody from the public like to address this issue, please come forward to the podium. Okay, seeing none, I'll close the public portion of the meeting. Bring it back to the commission.
I
Yes.
Like I said, I think we can get to approval on this, but I think we should continue it and give them time to look at these things and come back to us once they've made these changes and once they've made revisions to their TIA and hopefully once they've made revisions to their site plan. That's where I stand.
Okay, thank you for sharing that.
I agree.
Anybody else? Mark, we can table for one meeting, 1 month?
Yeah, you can definitely table for 1 month. I think you just can't table for more than 2. So yes, you can table for 1.
More than 2, which would be, it's not a half, I don't think, is there?
Well, you can do 2 though, right?
We can do 2.
Well, you should push it to January to give them more time.
But if we push till,
Well,
if we push
we
till,
table it and then
It comes back whenever.
when
Yeah,
they're,
when they're ready.
when they think they're ready. I don't think we choose.
Okay.
I mean, I guess we could choose,
Yeah.
but, okay. Any other discussion? Okay, I need a motion of some kind.
Chair, I'd like to make a motion to what is this one?
Continue.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to continue case DSA 25-00081.
Okay. Wording okay to continue instead of tabling?
I think you need.
Mark?
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to table case DSA 25-00081.
Yeah, to me, it's clearer, that's all. That's
Okay.
okay, I have a motion.
Second.
I hear a second. Very good. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, seeing none, please call the roll.
Member Clegg,
Yes.
Member Smith,
Yes.
Member Vanderhayden,
Yes.
Member Aldred,
Yes.
Member Hubbard,
Yes.
Vice Chair Garza,
Yes.
Chairman Benedict.
Yep. Okay. Table. Thank you all. Okay. Next, we'll hold a public hearing, consider a request by Alex Fish of ABLA on behalf of, I messed this up the last time too, a major general plan amendment to revise 350 acres. Okay, bye.
Tired of hearing you.
We're out.
Wow. Okay, where was I? To go from neighborhoods to large mixed use 2030 general plan land use classification, DSA 25-00085. Jim.
All right, good evening. So major general plan amendments require 2 planning commission presentations. This is the second of 2. And of course, this evening you're going to be asked to forward a recommendation to City Council, which would be the final authority on this item. They are scheduled to hear this at their December 15th meeting. But as you're already somewhat familiar with this, because this was originally presented back in October, this is a general plan amendment request for 353 acres of property located at the intersection of Florence and State Route 287 and Overfield Road from the current general plan designation of neighborhoods, and it's being proposed to be placed within the large mixed use general plan designation. The zoning of the property is primarily urban ranch, UR. However, 3.2 acres is zoned general business B2. And I do like to point out more for the public that a general plan amendment does not change the property zoning. So the urban ranch and B2 zoning does not change with a general plan amendment. What the general plan does is it's a high-level document that is more of a vision document that prescribes what are appropriate future zone districts for a particular area. So it is currently within the neighborhoods category. which identifies certain zone districts as being appropriate. If it goes into the large mixed use category, there's a different set of zone districts that are considered appropriate should the property be proposed for a rezone. But currently, urban ranch zoning is intended for single family dwellings at very low densities and agricultural uses and activities. The 3.2 acres that are zone B2 allows more intense use like retail, restaurants, offices, etc. The neighborhoods category, which this area is currently designated, is predominantly intended for single family land use of densities up to 4.5 dwelling units per acre in general. However, limited areas are allowed for both neighborhood scale commercial development up to 30 acre site sizes and limited areas for multifamily development. So it does allow site sizes of up to 25 acres, which at that size would allow 12 dwelling units per acre density, or site sizes of up to 20 acres allows up to 24 dwelling units per acre of density. As existing, areas of this 353 acres could be rezoned into various zone districts that are appropriate within the neighborhoods category. And you could end up potentially, if zone changes were approved, that would allow about up to 100 acres for multifamily residential, and it would be in compliance with the neighborhoods category. Of course, it would be subject to proposed zone changes. And I should point out that urban ranch zoning isn't included as an appropriate use within the neighborhoods category. As you see on the right is a list of appropriate base zone categories. R1, which is a single family residential zone district, is appropriate. That allows a higher density. B2 is listed, so that would be in conformance with the present general plan. But basically, what neighborhoods would prescribe is currently if someone wanted to zone change the property, if any one of these zone districts on the right, R1 through a neighborhood level PAD could be supported. The proposed general plan designation to large mixed use is a different type of land use category. It's somewhat of a hybrid of various general plan categories. It's a multi-purposed general plan category that does support mixed use development. It offers an alternative to conventional residential, commercial, and industrial developments. Under the tenets of the large mixed use category, you have to have a minimum of 320 acres. And then there are certain rules that apply to this category, such as no more than 70% of the area can be used commercially. And then no more than 50% of the area can be used either industrially nor residentially. So of that 50% of the acreage that can be used residentially, it is broken down further to say that no more than 20% of that can be developed for high density residential, and no more than 30% can be medium density. And so basically you could end up with an area that through a zone change could allow up to 88 acres for multifamily development. But a zone change would be required to accommodate any of the uses that are appropriate in the large mixed use category. And the only appropriate zone district listed in large mixed use is PAD, planned area development. And it is another distinction about the large mixed use category is it does allow industrial where other general plan categories are exclusively industrial, but it doesn't allow a mixture of other uses, whereas this does allow a combination of not only industrial, but commercial and residential. But that is why there are certain standards in place to ensure that there is a balance. And that is also why it requires a PAD zone as the only appropriate zone district, so that we can ensure that those seemingly different uses can be arranged in a way that can be compatible with not only each other, but what the surrounding land uses are. An overview of what is surrounding these 353 acres, you do have areas already designated for commercial use to the north and to the northwest as well as west. And at to the east of the site at the southeast corner of Florence and Overfield. And you do have single family areas designated to both the south and to the east. And then of course on the other side of Hacienda Road is residential. And then there's some residential areas well north of Florence Boulevard that are designated for single family areas. But there's also multifamily designated to the northeast, and as well as along the south side of Florence, east of Overfield, there is an area designated for multifamily already. So there is already a hodgepodge of designated uses in that area. And the applicant didn't provide for this, but one way to accommodate for the fact that you do have a mixture of different uses around this site, it's likely that should this be approved for a general plan amendment to large mixed use, and then they came forward with a zone change to PAD, they would probably arrange their uses something like this, where they propose industrial or a mixture of industrial and commercial nearest Florence Boulevard, since that is a state highway. And that's where you would expect to see the most traffic type of uses. But then between that and the less intense uses would be residential, but it would be contained within that own PAD, and it would probably include standards that would become more restrictive as you got to the edges of the PAD, so it'd be more compatible with existing or proposed uses surrounding that area. And then of course you could also buffer some of those more intense uses with commercial. So this is just one type of PAD land use arrangement that could be proposed. On a grander scale, when you look at all of the approved zonings on the east side of I-10, I know it all looks like farmland, but there's a lot of various planned area development zonings surrounding this site, which may take years to come to fruition. And of course, it all is dependent upon water supply, et cetera. But I would say that's another challenge for this site. It doesn't have certificates of assured water supply, so it wouldn't easily be able to develop at this time for a single family neighborhood. It would lend itself to larger lot development that wouldn't necessarily prompt the requirement for certificates of assured water supply, since certificates are needed if you're creating more than 5 parcels. When looking at general plan amendment criteria, the staff report, as well as the narrative provided by the applicant, goes into greater detail, but I'm just going to give a quick punch list of key criteria that we looked at. And of course, it pertains to conformance to the city's general plan. This area being proposed to large mixed use would not be an orphan on this side of the interstate. There are 2 other areas already designated as large mixed use. There's the area north of the promenade, and then there's Phoenix Smart. In looking at the determination criteria for general plan amendments, it primarily talks about how can this area be sufficiently supplied with utilities, access, et cetera. And the staff report, as well as the narrative, goes into those in greater detail. A lot of the decision to support the general plan amendment to large mixed use is centered around the fact that this area is adjacent to a state highway that has an interchange with I-10. In our long-range plan, there are future interchanges with both Quartz and I-10 and Selma and I-10. And so there's principal arterial roads leading from this site north and south. Now, none of those arterial roads, of course, are yet improved, and there are not interchanges to the north and south yet. However, this is just the general plan stage. Should this be approved, their next stage would be to entitle the property with a PAD zone. And even that doesn't necessarily ensure for adequate infrastructure. It talks about how that could be made possible, but where there would be ultimate infrastructure and utility improvements or roadway and utility improvements would be at the time of site plan, because anything that is proposed to go vertical, of course, would have to demonstrate that the route to it, as well as the utilities to serve it, are adequate, or how it could be made to be adequate to serve the site. So it is presenting a big picture view now, but it would take years for that to be fulfilled. But that's why we start with the general plan, which is basically a long-range document and view of the city. Regarding the notification process, the staff and applicant did send out public notification that met the requirements of the code. As a result of the first public hearing that was held at this meeting last month, there were some members of the public that came and spoke about this request, and we also had received an email shortly before that meeting. The general summary of those comments is they weren't in favor of this general plan amendment because of the multifamily. And then there was another concern regarding the fact that, yes, even though it can be placed in, or it would be placed into all one planned area development zone district, what's to keep some acreage within that planned area development zoning from being amended to become something even more intense than what was originally promised. Those two categories of concerns are very valid. I guess in analysis or in response, or some food for thought to those comments is that as a large mixed use general plan category, the city would have to consider a planned area development zone where the city could decide whether or not the multifamily component was appropriate. This general plan category supports multifamily, but it doesn't require multifamily. So it would be evaluated at that time. And then the other factor to consider is that, yes, it is possible that within that 353 acres, if this were approved and the zoning to PAD happened, it is possible an area within that could revise its zoning for something more intense. However, any type of revision like that would be subject to yet another public hearing where there would be opportunity for both the public and Planning Commission and Council to evaluate that specific request to determine if that change was appropriate. And any proposed use would have to be in conformance with that area's general plan. Staff does recommend that Planning Commission move forward a recommendation to City Council to approve this general plan amendment. Council would be scheduled to consider this item at their December 15th meeting. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions for staff?
I have a question.
Yes.
Jim, can you help me understand, like, how's the city's sewer system involved in these decisions? Like, there's no sewer to support a lot of that development to the east of I-10, right?
Correct. Right now, our sewer master plan shows that by and large, a lot of the development on the east side of Florence Boulevard has to be delivered to the existing wastewater facility by constructing a new line north on Hacienda to Quartzon, and then west under I-10 to link to the existing Quartzon line, which has recently been upgraded. That's what the current wastewater master plan calls for. However, this area is changing due to Post Ranch's approval. Its preliminary plat was approved not too long ago. And although they still have to go through final plats and submittal of their respective civil improvement plans, they're actually proposing a satellite wastewater treatment facility on their site. And so it's possible that that's going to end up evolving to something that can accommodate more wastewater discharge than just Post Ranch itself. Probably not large enough to handle everything that I showed on that previous map, but it is changing. And when something gets proposed that does involve wastewater discharge, that is going to have to be looked at to see what is the best route for that sewage.
So they're proposing a treatment plant, kind of a mini treatment plant on their property?
To serve Post Ranch, for this site, we're not at that stage to know how they would intend to contend with the wastewater until they got to the development stage.
Got it. All right, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions for staff? Okay. Is the applicant or their representative here? Yeah, please come forward. Thank you. Give us your name and address for the record.
Alex Fish with ABLA 310 East Rio Salado Parkway, Tempe, Arizona.
Awesome.
Happy to be here today. Thank you, Jim, for that great presentation. I'll try to keep this brief since Jim hit pretty much all my talking points. The site, as you all know, is located east of the I-10 on the 287. The existing neighborhoods is a general plan category that is applied over large swaths of the city where they had no plan in place for what they wanted to develop as. So that's part of the reason why you see most everything east of I-10 as neighborhoods. So most of the areas that get developed eventually come in and they will amend the land use to be a more appropriate use for what they intend to develop. And with this site being along the 287, which is a major transportation corridor, which will get expanded in the future, we think it's appropriate to now make that change to switch from neighborhoods to a large mixed use. This exhibit kind of highlights not only their site and the adjacent large mixed use, the commerce and business to the north, it also kind of shows us a little bit of a story of what's happened west of I-10, where you can see Florence Boulevard has been predominantly developed as a community's corridor land use, which is a higher intensity as well as a more business-minded category versus neighborhoods. And you can also see north-south along I-10 that has also been developed more as a commerce and business to accommodate those higher intensity transportation corridors. The appropriate land uses on here, as Jim mentioned, would be residential, commercial, industrial, hospital offices, medical, professional, restaurants, employment, education, religious, and transportation facilities. And as Jim mentioned, there's a lot of existing PADs in the area surrounding the community for various of different types of uses, for ranging from residential to non-residential uses. And like I said, I'll keep this brief. So any questions for me?
Okay, commissioners, questions for the applicant? Okay, you got off easy for this part.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll open the public portion of the meeting for this issue. Anybody from the public like to address this issue? Please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
Katie Halverson, 116 South Birdie Way. I was at the first meeting. I did express concern at the first meeting about the multi-story family. Still do understand that comes with zoning and stuff. I understand that the major plan amendment is only the vision for the future of this area. I have no problem with commercial. I have no problem with business. I have no problem with residential. I'm not anti-growth. I do have a problem with the industrial piece of this amendment to the plan. We have industry. It's on the west side. You yourself said we already have traffic problems on the west side with the industrial with trucks. And now we're going to take and put potential, understand it's not decided yet, industrial into this area and take truck traffic through what is becoming a commercial area for Casa Grande. We have the shopping mall there. We already have issues. We have a lot more homes coming out here, and we're going to put the same traffic problems with light industrial onto Florence that we have on Pinal. I object to that. The only other thing I'm going to say about this, and it doesn't have anything to do with necessarily this in general, but in both the staff narrative and the narrative from the developer, they mention the fact that one of your criteria is to help enhance downtown Casa Grande with future development. Got news for you. Half of the people on the east side have never been to downtown Casa Grande unless they go to church or the Big House Cafe for breakfast. I don't think this is going to affect it either way, whether it's a neighborhood or whether it's large mixed industrial. I don't care what you zone it. I don't think it's going to have an effect on downtown. That's a totally different subject. Business is fine. I didn't object to the storage units there. Don't object to the residential. And I believe that the current plan amendment does allow for business and commercial in this area the way it's set up now. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else like to address this issue? Thank you. Give us your name and address for the record.
Yes, I'm Eleanor Forrester, 2563 East San Ricardo Trail in Mission Royale Adult Village. And I'm going to read a letter that I tried to email to the planning department. It was returned to me with access denied. And so at my age, I doubt I will be around to see this plan development complete. My concerns and goals are in consideration for younger generations. I don't want them to experience the disgust I feel for the occurring overgrowth, especially the high-density housing. I am fearful of losing Casa Grande's rural and agricultural heritage, to say nothing of the impact to the infrastructure and lifestyle. Remember, the general plan states to honor and preserve the rural and agriculture heritage of Casa Grande while allowing urbanization to occur in appropriate locations. I don't feel that high-density housing especially is appropriate on the outer edge of the city limits. My main concern is the inclusion of high-density housing to this plan change, which is outside the city downtown core. My second concern is the mix of industrial and residential. I understand that growth is inevitable, but please consider limiting this change by not including the industrial and high-intensity housing. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else like to address this issue? Okay, seeing none, close the public portion of the meeting. Bring it back to the commission.
You know, as the applicant said, you know, the neighborhoods category kind of exists as a placeholder until something comes through that's actually has a plan to develop into something else, and that's when they usually make that change. And you know, with the general plan future land use map, it's so far before any of the entitlements and things that somebody knows, and so that's where I hear the industrial is a concern. You know, I hear high density housing is a concern, and I think once they come back with a PAD, they're going to have to show that they're incorporating those things in a compatible way, if they are, and you know that could be restricting density near existing low density residential. That could be restricting the amount, and obviously the large mixed use has its own standards as to how much you can do within it, that Jim went over. So I think those concerns are concerns that are valid, and you know, as we move forward with any PADs or zoning entitlements for this, I think making your voice heard at that time is very valuable, and it helps this commission a lot with making the right decision. So I think when that point comes, it'd be very important for not just us as a commission, but staff as well, to kind of remember some of those concerns is when a PAD is proposed and they actually do try to change the entitlements from urban ranch to something else. So that's, I think this change though to large mixed use is definitely within the growth of the city and where we're headed. And so that's where I think this is a good change.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners?
Good question.
Yep.
The PAD, does that come back to us?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll see it again. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. I guess I was a little challenged with this. When you put that word industrial in there, it gets a little nerve wracking, I'd be the way to say it, but I sure think some of the other uses would be beneficial in that area, particularly, coming this far out. Some of the professional services and restaurants and entertainment facilities and all of those things, I think will be, certainly a benefit to the area in time as it grows. Yeah, we just have to remain diligent. I mean, my only approach is we have to remain diligent, and we know we always have to, because things come at us with these changes. So that's where my head's at. Anybody else? Okay.
Chair, I'd like to make a motion.
Okay.
To forward wait for it to get here. To forward a positive recommendation to City Council to approve this general plan amendment.
Okay.
DSA 25-00085. Yeah.
Second.
Okay, I got a motion and a second. Any discussions on the motion? Okay, seeing none, please call the roll.
Member Clegg?
Yes.
Member Smith?
Yes.
Member Vanderhayden?
Yes.
Member Aldrete?
Yes.
Member Hubbard?
Yes.
Vice Chair Garza?
Yes.
And Chairman Benedict.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Thank you, folks, for coming. We appreciate hearing your concern. Please continue to stay diligent. Before we start the next step, I think we'd like to take 5 minutes. We're all a little achy and tired here, so we're going to get up and stretch a minute. So we'll take 5 minute break. Go ahead.
No,
Ladies first.
no, go for it. You're chairman.
You want to get over with and look like,
Stretch it.
No, it's because of that.
How long you got here?
2007, 8, somewhere in there. Maybe 9, 2009. We lived in Arizona.
I guess, site plan comments aren't due till Wednesday.
What?
I guess I can wait. Yes. It's the Canton one, the one north of Commerce. Where they're doing that plating with ash starting. Yeah.
It's one had some comments.
Yeah. That was, today. So and what we did for LCY. So, yeah. On the side. Yeah. So that's, so I guess it's all the I just want to go by. So, but then,
Picture of my wife.
For the site. Then we had the CAA flat. But then it doesn't have to be that, it's from like, they updated, yeah.
My mom.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, then I'll make, might still keep my son's in or for the CUP, but I want to get those out, because I might try to make it till December. On my way home. Yeah, so just, yeah, I didn't get all, so I didn't get, save time on it.
We came from San Diego.
Okay.
Just Ireland, all years ago.
No worries, I know. That's why I like to have that. So I get all the comments.
Truck guy, back in the corporate headquarters.
Nice.
They are.
Anyway, so one of these carriers, there's a big carrier in
But I think it was, I mean, planner had a.
very quiet.
It's not. In order for your wireless sensor. The other girl, I don't know why she.
And the resolution.
Oh, I would do it.
I think though, now,
What a problem.
Yeah.
You have to have traffic people in your mind.
What we do, and maybe separate.
Yeah, that's.
I went there once.
And I never because there's two by it that has. So it just seemed to be like, I don't know if he was talking to who, but if I were Post Ranch, I would talk with the owners.
This is president.
It's the housing presentation.
What's that?
It's the same presentation that.
Yeah,
I'd like to know all these new residences they have to. I'd like to know
What the
current occupancy.
He's going to tell you.
Oh, is he?
I watched it today.
Oh, good.
Yeah. It was not, he presented it to council on Monday.
Okay.
I watched it today.
Oh, cool. So we
See, I
can
already
go.
have notes.
So we can go.
Yeah, I already, yeah.
All right, we ready? We are back in order. So, we have a special presentation by Elliott Pollock and Company on the affordable housing plan for the city of Casa Grande.
Mr.
Please
Chairman, I'll
come
go ahead and
talk.
introduce the speaker. The city did receive a grant from Arizona Department of Housing to perform this affordable housing study for the city of Casa Grande.
Nice.
It was about $107,000 grant we received. And staff has been working with Mr. Merritt to develop this plan. We went through about 3 or 4 drafts until we came to what you're going to hear today. So staff is very happy with the near final product of the draft. And Mr. Merritt did present to City Council on Monday with memo questions. And he's here to make the city presentation to you tonight.
Excellent. Thank you. Appreciate you sharing this.
Thank you. A pleasure to be here. I have a variety of slides to go through and happy to answer any questions when we get through this. Just to start out, there's a lot of words and terminology around for what is affordable housing. They go by many names. The typical one is affordable housing. We hear about attainable housing, workforce housing, missing middle housing, but no matter what, the goal is that somebody pays no more than 30% of their income on housing. And for a rental unit, that includes utilities, so we have to factor that into it as well. The term affordable housing usually refers to low and moderate income households, typically earning less than 60% of the area median income. The area median income, you're part of the Metro Phoenix area. So the median income is for the whole metropolitan area, and that's much higher than what you see down here in Casa Grande. But based on that standard, it's about a family of 3, about $60,000 or so. There's other resources that provide this type of housing. It can be public housing, which you have a little bit of coming from the county. The low-income housing tax credit projects, LIHTC they call it, and you have a number of those types of complexes in the city. And then vouchers, which are also provided by the county housing authority. When we talk about workforce or attainable housing, we're talking about households that earn more than 60% of the median income. They earn too much to provide assistance, but they often can't find housing that's affordable to them because of the increase in rents that we've seen. A lot of them are teachers, police, firefighters, construction workers, people that are really critical to the economy of the local area. When you talk about missing middle housing, it really is mostly housing demand for workforce households. And what the missing middle is housing that's between single family housing and what we're seeing here on the right side, mid-rise or very high density housing. So in between, we see duplexes, we see courtyard, cluster buildings, we see townhouses, those types of units that are more dense and more affordable to the workforce. So a little bit about the demographics in Casa Grande. Your median age, you're younger than the state of Arizona, which is great. Your average household size a little bit smaller than the state. And you can see how you compared to the state in terms of owner-occupied housing and renter housing units. This is household income. Once again, you compare it to the Pinal County. For some reason, Pinal County is a little bit higher in household income compared with the city. It may be that you're older, you have an older population here, an older housing stock, and that has created a situation where your household incomes are a little bit lower, quite a bit lower than the statewide average, which is largely driven by Phoenix, greater Phoenix area. So the forecast is you're going to continue to grow, probably around 25,000 more people by over the next 16 years or so. You can see some of the other cities are expected to grow faster than you, like Coolidge and Maricopa, and the unincorporated balance of the county as well. Now we have the new Santan incorporated community, they'll be probably the largest community when it's all over and done with. But no matter what, you're going to be towards the top of the population base in terms of overall county. You are the economic center of Pinal County. There's no doubt about that. You have the manufacturing that's been here for a long time. That's not going to change. Because of your assets, we expect Casa Grande to continue to be the economic center of Pinal County. So what does all that translate into for housing demand? That's about 9,800 units over the next 15, 16 years. On an average basis, it's about 600 units a year. You're doing more than that right now, but that's what the Office of Economic Opportunity sees as in terms of your forecast today. So the housing market really has been stood on its head at this point because of everything that happened during the pandemic and afterwards. You can see how the transition to housing has really changed over the last few years. You can see in 2021, a lot of single-family building activity, but you get to 2023 and 2024, that's where you've really seen the change in multifamily towards multifamily housing. We've heard a lot about that in meetings we've had, but there's a lot of good things that are going on as well as this new type of housing comes into the city. We took a look at the market rate housing in the city. This is housing complexes that are probably 40 units or more. There are a lot of smaller complexes around that aren't included, but we have this information available. And for traditional apartment complexes, your 2, 3, 4-story complexes is about a 12% vacancy rate, and you have these new build-to-rent units, they're called, which are the more unattached units, detached units that are available for rent. They have a high vacancy rate because they've just been built and they're just still in the lease-up period. Overall, about over $1,300 market inventory rent, and you can see the build to rent have a much higher, usually about 25% higher rent. In terms of your affordable apartment inventory, what's in the ground is about 800 units, and there's newly approved complexes that are either under construction or pretty well completed at this point. And you have the Casa Grande Phase 1 apartments that are downtown here that are still going through due diligence on the part of Gorman, who has proposed those. But you can see if all those are built, you've almost doubled the number of affordable complexes that are in the city. And most of those are low-income tax credit projects. They're called 4%. There's also 9%, which are more competitive. But you're seeing a lot of influx of tax credit projects, which is really what you need here in the community. So that's good things to see. And overall, about 1,400 units are about under construction, about half and half market rate, half affordable. What has happened with rents, and you can see it really jumped up from 2019, where you're about a little over $1,000 a month. You got up to $1,450 in 2022, and now it's dropped down to about $1,350 because the market had an influx of new units. Those units are probably showing incentives, free rents in some cases. Vacancy rates have dropped, so that's why we're seeing a decline in rent at this point. In terms of the single-family resale market, this is resale homes. You can see they've also jumped way up in rent, 64% since 2019. They come down in price some from 2022, but still way beyond what they were just 4 or 5 years ago. And in terms of new homes, seeing the same type of thing, kind of a leveling out of pricing and a drop in, in building permit and sales activity. But once again, a big influx of change in price, about $150,000 just in 3 years, and now they've come down a bit, but still well above where they were previously. We took a look at what happens if the median income about $66,500. What can someone afford today? And this has an interest rate of 6.65%. Interest rates are all over the place at this point. They're probably down to about 6.2%. So this chart, which we only did a few weeks ago, is a little bit out of date, and perhaps someone with that kind of income can afford a little bit more, maybe getting up to $240,000 or $50,000, but still way beyond what the average prices are. So really some concern as to people trying to get into the market, starter homes, those types of things is what we really want to try to focus on. So we want to look at the housing gap, and once again, the issue is somebody spending more than 30% of their income on housing. You can see in the renter category, almost half of your renters are paying more than 30%, and a good portion of those are spending more than 50%, which HUD says is severely burdened by housing costs. And that's in the renter side. You can see your numbers are higher than the county. They're pretty much equal to what you find across the state. And in terms of owner-occupied housing, nearly a quarter of your households are paying more than 30%. But once again, owners of occupied housing units have more opportunity to reduce their burden. They can sell their home, they can move to a lower cost unit perhaps, they can rent. So they have more opportunity. Renters are really stuck. They have no other opportunities really in the marketplace. We also looked at-risk households. We think female heads of household without a spouse are something we really need to focus on in your housing program. And you can see if the female householder has kids, takes care of kids under 18 years of age, they only have about a $42,000 income. And you can see a male householder, even with kids, is well above that. Married household couples are up near $90,000 in income. So really want to take a look at those at-risk households and how you can provide for them. And then we looked at seniors as well. About more than half, about 56% of seniors pay more than 30% of their income on housing. And if you look at how many of them make up the households that are burdened by housing, it's about 31%. So once again, that's another segment of the population you want to provide for. There are some of those types of facilities around the community, but we probably need more at this point. Wanted to just put a graphic in of how we look at how the market is working. And you can see in Casa Grande, below $50,000 in income, there's a deficit. There's not enough housing for those households in the community. And they're forced to rent where there are available housing units. And that's in the center, the big bulge in the center. But unfortunately, to get into that part of the market, they're going to pay more than 30% of their income on housing. And at the opposite end, you probably could see the demand for more higher-end housing, rental housing in the community. 15% of your renters earn more than $100,000 in income. Well, they can afford a $2,500 rent. You just don't have those in the market today. So once again, they're in the center, renting for less than 30% of their income, but really using up some of the housing that might be available for some of the less fortunate households in the community. And we looked at affordability in terms of occupation. And once again, if you're at a $1,300 rent, or you take out, a certain amount for utilities, which is on the far right side of the table there, There's very few of these occupations that can afford the typical housing unit today. And we're even talking about getting into teachers and middle school teachers, firefighters that are pretty well stressed to be able to find those units in the market today. We also looked at housing demand. If you're looking at 9,800 more households coming into the community, and we looked at those of different income ranges, so below $50,000, there's going to be about 2,900 more households coming into the community, and they'll probably be looking for rental housing because they can't afford to buy a house. And then between $50,000 and $100,000 is another 3,500 households coming in. And hopefully, through this program that we've outlined, there'll be more ownership opportunities. I'll talk about that in just a minute. But that's really what you're looking at in the future. This isn't a static type of thing. It's going to keep growing, and the need's going to keep growing. So our strategy is to create or preserve 2,000 affordable and workforce housing units through 2030. It's a pretty stiff goal, but it's something we think the city needs to really focus on. That includes the construction of new units, plus the city does have emergency rehab money through block grant programs that they use. So it's a combination of a lot of those types of things. But we think that affordability really can't be accomplished without higher density. And I know that's been an issue. We've heard it in meetings about multifamily housing. But clearly there is the demand for all types of housing, including apartments in the future. So what are the types of housing we're suggesting? Cluster complexes. These are called six on the left side, called 6 or 8 packs by the home builders. They're clustered. A lot of them use alleys or shared driveways. Most of them have garages. But it's one type of product. I don't think we've seen it in Casa Grande, but that's one option. And then townhouses, common wall buildings. Duplexes, you'd have a fair amount of duplexes already in the older parts of the city. But obviously that's one way of reducing cost, or small lot single family development. I know staff has dealt with accessory dwelling units that can be put in the backyard of single-family homes, or manufactured homes. You do have a fair amount of manufactured homes. Most of them are retirement-oriented, but more and more they're beginning to look like stick-built homes, and we're seeing more and more companies come out with these types of units. And then, of course, apartments, assisted living facilities, things like that, which we expect to see in the future. So we developed an action plan and objectives, and there's a number of objectives. And then within each one are strategies. And just to pick out a couple, establish a housing trust fund for the city to have a fund that can provide financing for affordable housing. One of the things we're suggesting is perhaps you provide waivers of impact fees, which are a big cost item for multifamily housing. Well, you can't just give away impact fees. Somebody has to pay for them. And in this case, a housing trust fund could provide the funding needed to provide a benefit to those types of communities. Looking at excess city land for housing, school district land, maybe a down payment assistance program, things of that nature that would be a possibility of increasing the supply. We talked about a comprehensive review of the zoning code and development standards for affordable and workforce housing, and some of the things that could be worked into the code. There's a lot of tools out there that we're suggesting you take a look at. The government property lease excise tax for housing affordable. The city of Phoenix has used that extensively in their downtown. If you've been to downtown Phoenix, you see a lot of residential high-rises. Most of those are done on GIPLETs. And I don't know if you know what a government property excise lease tax is, but it basically reduces the property tax burden on a property. And the city has 71 of those they've used. I think you've used one for one of your businesses a long time ago, one of your manufacturers a long time ago. So it is available for housing. You could establish a community land trust. And there are nonprofit corporations like Newtown, based in Tempe, that assist with this. And they are a company that they keep they own the land and they sell the unit to an affordable housing household. And that takes 15, 20, 25% of off the cost of that unit. I'll give you an example. They have 71 houses in Chandler that they bought years and years ago. They bring in people to buy those units. The problem is they can't find housing that's cheap enough to buy anymore in Chandler, so they've stopped buying them in Chandler. They also have some in Gilbert. So it needs to work in an area where the housing is less expensive, and Casa Grande may be a perfect location for that type of thing. We're talking about promoting variety in housing. That's what we talked about with the different types of units. Maintain the existing affordable housing inventory. Make sure your existing inventory, particularly in the downtown here, stays maintained. There's code enforcement. There's things like that keep the inventory here that's fairly moderate in price and keep it that way for people that need it. We're talking about keeping support for the Homeless Resource Center. We want to establish an educational campaign for the benefits of affordable housing, and we're working with your staff on that part of it. And then monitor the progress in achieving the housing goal, keeping on track for how you're going to keep producing the housing that's really needed. And once again, I think a big part of this is creating the affordable housing for workforce, people that can go out and get into the market and get into the ownership market and build equity. Some of the tools, I'll just go through this real quick to show you. The tools are on the left side, like the Community Land Trust. You can provide density bonuses, the GIPLETs in there, land banking. And those all help on the land cost part of affordable housing. You can take 15 to 20% off the cost depending on how you do that. There are soft costs. You hear about developers and how long it takes to get through processes and things. So maybe expedited review of plans for affordable housing projects, waiver of permit fees, waiver or reimbursement of impact fees, development standards, those types of things. And lastly, the hard costs. The waiver of construction sales tax, consistency in building codes, reduced parking. The one thing that I did find out just in the last few weeks or so is that you have an IDA, a City Industrial Development Authority, and I don't know how many people know, but back in the 1980s, they helped finance 3 apartment complexes here in the community. So your IDA is there. And that's one more financing mechanism that I think would be a good opportunity for you to take a look at as well. And the IDAs, the Maricopa County IDA, the state IDA, are all really getting into the affordable housing market today. And it's something I think that the city could really use in this effort. I know that's a lot of information. And if anybody has any questions, I believe this is going to be going for adoption by the City Council in December sometime. So it's going to be moving forward. There's a lot of steps to be taken, what tools you want to take out of this and actually put into practice. But I think it's a really good program for the city to take a look at to address your affordable housing issues. Thank you.
Okay. I did have a question. Just, and maybe too technical of a question, but did you say for when you're considering rental units, you include their utilities in the 30% calculation, and in
Correct.
owned homes, you do not.
Well, in the owned homes, most people, a lot of people have mortgages. So in a mortgage, you have property taxes, you have insurance, you have things like that. Those are all grouped into the ownership part of the formula as well.
We only include what's on the credit report on a mortgage. Or mortgage, whatever's on. They still.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's what goes through my head is, they're still.
But
I own my house. I still got to pay the electric bill. I still got to pay all that stuff too,
But they factor that in. Like when you get a mortgage for a home, they want your debt ratio, for example, not more than 38%.
Yep. Right.
And whatever they take your gross income times 38%.
Right.
And whatever that figure is,
Yeah.
you take out all your debt from that, your car payments.
Yeah, I get that, but they're saying, I guess what we're saying is that these numbers in here, you leave that part out in the numbers you've used here and in on a rental, and I just can't grasp
Well,
how
the
that's.
difference is your expenses like food, utilities would be the difference. That's why they only go up to 38%. Does that make sense?
No. But that's fine.
I have a few questions, actually.
Yeah, please go
If
ahead.
I may. In regards to the economy, what sort of assumptions did you make?
In terms of your growth?
Well, in terms of the growth, you had said you projected out to 2030. Are you projecting that the economy stays stable through that period of time? Or is inflation going to increase, decrease? All of that impacts employment and so on.
Yeah, that's a good question. What we're using are forecasts that come from the Arizona Office of Economic Opportunity. And I don't know that those things, are difficult to forecast at this point. For the most part, they are looking at your historic growth and forecasting that out into the future. So it probably did not take into account things that are happening today or could happen in the next couple years. Mm-hmm. If we get into a recession, those things always change around, so they're not really taken into account in that.
Okay. In regards to that, what about, did you consider rent controls of any kind? I noticed that a couple of them that you were showing, they showed one that the rent was close to $1,500 a month, yet it was only 600 square feet. That's getting in the range of a luxury apartment, if you will. Yeah. And with the salaries that you're showing, the actual average salaries, how are they going to save any money, especially to get 10% down on an actual single family home? You're sort of creating permanent renters.
Yeah. And that is the problem with the market today, is there are a lot of people, you hear about the Gen Ys, and they think they'll never be in a single family or in their own home at this point. It's a good question. They're really, I don't know that there's a good answer at this point, but we didn't consider rent control. Rent control is something that you see in the big cities, in San Francisco and New York, and it's not something that's really appropriate here. We're taking a different attack that, with proper help from the city, help from the state, alleviation of regulation here, maybe providing waivers, expedited review, things like that, that we can reduce the cost of workforce housing that puts it into the area where somebody can afford it. And so that's really the effort we're trying to do, is what can you do to really take a look at reducing workforce housing costs and make them more affordable. There are some cities that get into voluntary inclusionary zoning programs, where somebody comes in, they want to zone the property, and the city talks them into providing 5 or 10% affordable housing. That's probably the better way to go. We've seen it in Sedona, It's being talked about maybe in Prescott, but it's really been most active in areas that are really hit by affordable housing issues. But I think it's a way, we see it in Phoenix to some extent. A lot of the high rises that you see, if you get a GIPLET designation, you have to provide 10 to 20% of your housing units for affordable households. So that's the give and take. Provide them density incentives, providing waivers of certain things, maybe waivers of impact fees, and in exchange, you get 10% of the housing units being affordable in that particular complex. And I think that's the way to really approach it, rather than rent control or something that's very, very restrictive.
It's restrictive, but there's no other way to really manage the landlords and the developers. So
it is tough in the market.
They're free to charge whatever they want to charge, and what
Yes.
they feel the market can bear.
Exactly.
And so that doesn't help the overall population.
Yep.
Yep. Thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah, I just have one question. Thank you for putting together a housing plan. I think it's a great step for the city, and especially trying to figure out our next steps as a city. One thing, though, just kind of more so, I guess, on Brett's point of costs not included, was there any talk of looking at transportation costs? Because I know on the planning side, there's the housing index, but then there's the housing plus transportation index, where yes, you want to stay below 30% for your housing cost, but when you start adding in your transportation cost onto that, then you start going over that 30% much quicker. And so is there a greater need in the city of Casa Grande once you start adding in those transportation costs? Because if you live here, you basically need a car. And so whether that means you have an older car that you maintain, or you have a car payment, and then your insurance, your gas, your maintenance, so all of that, I mean, it's included in some places where it's housing plus transportation. And so that you kind of, all of those costs of living that you need, and especially in American cities, it kind of paints a better picture of what that need is.
Yeah, there's a lot of studies that have looked at transportation costs. And there obviously is a lot of commuting in and out of Casa Grande. There's a lot of people coming in to work in the factories here, but there's a lot of people that drive out to Greater Phoenix, Chandler, wherever it may be. So I think one of the things that can really offset that is affordable housing, so that people can live here, they can work here, they don't have to commute, an hour into Phoenix or wherever it may be. But it is definitely a cost. And if you don't have the housing, and people need to work somewhere, they're going to commute out. So the real benefit here of affordable housing is keep people in the community, so they don't have to transit, into Phoenix and Chandler and those types of areas.
Thank you.
So how can the city entice other developers to come in and do like condos or townhouses that are?
There's a whole report.
I know, but we don't have, but we're sitting here constantly approving single-family homes that are 450 plus. How do we get developers to come in? I mean, we have the low to moderate income areas to build on.
That's what he was saying, is we have to incentivize those areas to the developer. No impact fees or low permit fees, or.
Right, but I mean.
Those are things that have to happen at the code level, I guess.
Yeah, and I think it's a process of negotiation. Like I said, a voluntary inclusionary program. Somebody comes in for rezoning. Okay, we'll give you, instead of having all single family, give us some townhomes and make some of those, certain portion of those townhomes to be affordable. That a lot of people don't like that, because they think, okay, the higher priced housing is just subsidizing the lower priced housing. And to some extent that may be true. But you add up all these particular incentives, and hopefully that's enough that a developer is incentivized to provide those types of units. But it is difficult. It takes a lot of work. It takes probably I don't want to say your staff is understaffed at this point, but you need somebody who's really on the ground dealing with housing, affordable housing day in and day out. And that's part of the financial support that you probably need. But you know, you've done very well with these tax credit projects. They've come in, they make a lot of sense for the developers. Your incomes are low enough here, and the rents, the allowable rents are high enough that a lot of people can afford to get into those tax credit projects, can qualify for those tax credit projects. So you're doing well there. But it's other things that you need to really impact for the workforce and get people, you know, that normally wouldn't be in the housing market, get them into the housing market and get them into the making equity for themselves.
All right. Good. Thank you. That's very interesting. Appreciate the report and great discussion.
Great. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Planning Director reports.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. The changes to Chapter 17 for the administrative review of site plans took effect today. That's going to be a change for the commission, I understand, going forward, especially when we're looking at these CUPs, because the CUP is a land use consideration as opposed to the details of a site plan, which you're used to. So as we kind of transition away from scrutinizing site plans, which is, you know, we definitely need to look at them with the CUP, transitioning away from scrutinizing a site plan into really scrutinizing a land use and its compatibility for an area. So the second thing is the Chapter 16, which is the subdivision regulations. The City Council did hear that on Monday for their first hearing, and that is the administrative review of subdivision plats and lot line adjustments. And that is all I have.
So, question for that we just had the discussion about, we won't see the master plan.
No, we don't. That's what they told me. But I said, I'm not going to approve conditional use permit until I see a near to complete site plan and TIA.
You can also condition conditional use permits with certain design standards.
Absolutely.
So if you want your site plan to look a certain way, you can condition that conditional use permit with those design standards. So then they have to make their site plan look how you want it to look.
I'm just trying to get the
I think he's an
picture.
attorney twisting stuff around.
You got to give us more information. That's where I'm at.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So the rest of these, you can see, I guess, you know, what we've done, minor site plans with the City Council approved. You have your development reports. Anything else for the good of the order? Okay, we are adjourned.